Hey there, friends. It's Elizabeth here with week 24 in my 2022 digital yearbook. So I am using the full spread template from my 8x10 yearbook starter pack. And the first step that I have whenever I start one of these digital layouts is I always add my photos. So as you can see, I'm only adding photos right now to the top and the bottom rows. And I'm doing that because I decided for this layout it would be fun to kind of reserve that middle row for journaling. And you'll see what I'm talking about in a second. Usually I intersperse my journaling cards and my photos, but because of the story kit that I was using, I thought it would be really fun to have all of my journaling in a line, to kind of follow as you look from left to right in this spread. So here I am just trying to figure out what I want to do with my photos, where the placement works the best. As you can see, I have a couple of black and whites, and I want to make sure that they are placed throughout the layout and they look kind of balanced. So I first thought that I was actually going to add a pattern paper to that top left corner, but I decided to stick with just the photos. And then I'm going to work on adding my journaling cards. So for this week, I am using the Senses Story Kit by Ali Edwards, and I'm going to be using these 5 senses story cards, I believe she calls them, to add my journaling. So as you can see, I have one for hearing, seeing, tasting, smelling, and touching, I believe, the one for each of the 5 senses. And I'm just adding that to my journaling spots, kind of using those 3x4 style rectangles as my guide. And as you can see, the story cards are kind of a different dimension, so I am simply holding down the shift key as I scale each of those cards to scale them without proportions constrained. So that means that the proportions are not the same as the originals. Now, you do have to be careful when you scale things without constraining the proportions, because things can easily turn out a little bit wonky. But for these style of cards and with the font that Ali used for these, I don't think it actually ended up looking weird or awkward at all. So I was really happy with how they turned out. So before I add my journaling, I'm going to figure out what I want to use for my embellishments for my photos. I thought about using the word phrases that came with the Senses Story Kit or some of the digital stamps, but I end up going with something from the 2022 Week in the Life kit. So I am going to look for these gold foil hearts. If you get the actual Week in the Life main kit, I believe these are printed on vellum. So I just added a little bit of transparency to each of those hearts, and I'm going to add one to all of my 4x6 style photos. As you can see, I spend a little bit of time scaling these hearts and trying to figure out where I want them. But once I have that finished, I'm going to go to my Google Drive, and I love adding all of my digital supplies into my Google Drive because they're very easily findable. So as you can see, I just looked up phrase, so that it would come up with all of the phrase stickers that I have in my digital collection, and I am going to grab this phrase sticker sheet from, I believe, the 2022 Day in the Life. And the way that I add my phrase stickers onto my layout is I simply just place the entire sticker sheet onto the spread, and I'm going to use the rectangular marquee tool to create new layers with the sentiments that I want to add. So as you can see, I use a rectangular marquee tool to create a rectangle around the sentiment. I right click and I say layer via copy, and then that gives me the individual sentiments that I would like to add. And since I used clear phrase stickers, I'm actually going to back them with rectangles of different colors from the kit. So this was definitely the most tedious part of the process, just because you're working with very small sentiments and it's kind of fiddly, but I do like the end result. So I'm just creating a rectangle in the background of my sentiments. I'm trying to keep them fairly the same size, and I'm adding 2 sentiments and 2 rectangles to each of my hearts. So you're going to see what it looks like all together in a second when I zoom out here. As you can see, I'm going to change some colors around a bit. That's one of the reasons why I like working with a full spread at a time, so I can make sure that both sides of the spread look balanced. and it's not a lot of work to change things when I need to. So once I finish adding those sentiments, I'm going to work on that 3x4 pattern right there. That is actually one of the 3x8 cards that was included with the Census Story Kit, and I'm going to be adding some sentiments, chipboard sentiments from the 2022 Week in the Life kit. So I added the This Week sentiment, and then I'm going to add one of those outer circles that came with the chipboard set, and I am just trying to figure out what color I want to make that one, and I settle on that dark blue color to kind of delineate it from the pattern background. So now I have my journaling, and I am just going to save my full spread as a JPEG, and you're also going to see me import it into Bookwrite, which is the Blurb bookmaking software. I'm going to show you again what this looks like when we get to the end of my second layout, but here it is in its book format. And now we're going to get to work on the second layout for this week. So as you can see, I'm working with the same template, and I am just toggling that left side to make it a full image. I believe it's called full image with border. And I'm going to add this scan of something my daughter wrote her dad for Father's Day. It's kind of a questionnaire thing that she filled out, which was so adorable, and I wanted to make sure I added into my digital project life pages. And now I'm going to be adding all of my photos to the right side. So as you can see, I again used some of the options that are available on this template to create another 4x6 style rectangle to fill in that middle row. I do that just by toggling some of the layers over on the layers panel. And then I'm going to be adding a digital stamp from the Week in the Life 3x4 digital stamp set to that horizontal pattern paper. So this one says story, and it comes with the digital stamp story and then the days of the week that fit into the O. So I'm just going to add Saturday into that, and then I'm going to create a journaling spot by adding that rectangle right on top of that pattern paper. And just to bring a little continuity from the other spread, I do round the corners of that journaling spot. And then I'm going to move on to one of my other journaling cards. I'm using this Father's Day digital stamp from the June 2017 Stories by the Month kit. And I am going to be adding that to this little sentiment spot that I created, this journaling card that I created with one of the census patterns and another digital stamp from the census digital stamp set that says, here are the details. And I think that worked really well to add some more journaling about how we celebrated Father's Day. And the last journaling spot that I'm going to add is this one, which is from the Watch Story Kit by Allie Edwards. And then because it was a little bit plain, I decided to add this digital stamp that says currently watching. This is from the In a Creative Bubble Family Fun digital stamp set, and I'm going to add that to the right hand corner. As you can see, I wanted to kind of make it look like it was part of the card, so I actually created a rectangle background to make sure that those lines had some space, so it looks like it's inlaid into the lines of the card. And then I'm also going to add a circle background to that stamp. So you're going to see what I mean here in a second. I add the circle to the background, I change the digital stamp color to white, and it kind of looks like it was always there. So that's always really fun. Next, I'm going to be working on my journaling. So I'm going to skip over writing that. And voila, my journaling is complete and it's time to embellish. So I'm going to use those same vellum hearts that I used on the previous spread just to make sure that the week has some continuity. I'm going to add 3, 1 to the left and then 2 to the right side of the spread. And then I'm also going to add the same phrase stickers to each of those hearts, 2 for each, and I'm going to back them with the multicolored rectangles. So once I have that finished and my layout is embellished, I'm going to call this week complete, and I'm going to take you over to my Bookwrite software so I can show you how it will look as a finished book. If you are wondering about the templates that I used or any of the products, you can definitely leave me a comment down below. The template is from my very own shop, which I will have linked down below. It is from the 8x10 digital yearbook starter pack, and I really love how this turned out. And I'm excited to print this book. I think I will print the first half of the year as one book and then the second half of the year as a second book. But I'm really excited to get this printed and to have it in my hands, and I will definitely do a flip through when it is done. So thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful day.